It's an embodied experience. That confidence that you feel knowing that you have trust in that your body is doing exactly what it needs to do in this moment. If you are having a flare of your eczema, or your psoriasis is flaring, or your hair is falling out, your body is sending you a message.
I'm your host, Kim Hines, and welcome to the Emotional Eats podcast. I'm on a mission to show you that what you consume, not just the food, affects your entire life. Midlife is different. Let's dig into the real reasons why you eat when you're not hungry and why you're not feeling well. My guests and I are going to give you doable solutions and help you let go of perfectionism, food rules, and stress to make changes that will last a lifetime. If you're ready to ditch old school diet culture and nourish your entire life, this is the show for you. Welcome to episode 11. I introduce to you Dr. Keira Barr, a dual board certified integrative dermatologist and somatic stress release practitioner. We dive into the connection between the mind and the skin. Dr. Keira redefines skincare as an embodiment of our lived experience. The discussion explores how our skin is not merely a surface issue, but a reflection of what's happening inside our bodies. She explains more about what somatic skincare really is, and we highlight the importance of addressing the mental and emotional aspects of skincare alongside traditional dermatological approaches. And we touch upon the challenges faced by women, particularly as they age, and feeling comfortable in our own skin. And I love how listeners are encouraged to embrace their own journey of aging with self-acceptance. Listen to the end for valuable, no-nonsense takeaway tips from Dr. Keira. She's providing these listeners with actionable guidance on their skincare journeys. Make sure to follow Dr. Keira Barr at Dr. Keira Barr on Instagram. That's spelled DrKeiraBarr. Enjoy the episode and let us know what you think. Hi, Dr. Keira. Thank you for being here.
I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate it. I found you online. I was actually looking at somebody else's page and I found you and I got really excited. And ever since I have been on your Instagram page, I've been calling you the skin queen in the back of my head here. So I'm just excited to talk to you about this. And you have come into a really interesting space with the skin, and I'm excited to talk to everyone about that today. But becoming a dermatologist and then moving into what everyone will find out today is more, a little bit different, how we look at our skin. I would love to know how you got there, because our passions and our purpose don't come from nowhere. We always have a story that leads up to that. So share with us how you got to this really creative space, helping people with their skin.
Yeah, I love that. And I totally agree. I call it our skin story, right? We all have one. And, I thought I went into dermatology because I thought dermatology was this fascinating specialty where you could do histology and surgery and you treat adults and kids. And like that had been my party line. I was like, oh, I just love it all. It's like mixing all the cereals in one bowl. Like you don't have to choose, you get to do everything. But, we connect the dots going backwards. And I realized I wound up in dermatology ultimately because I lived most of my life feeling very uncomfortable in my skin. And if I'm being honest, I still do at times. Like this is why I continue to do the work that I do. I was bullied as a kid for birthmarks on my face. Kids call them coffee stains, which is really, you think, oh, kids are so mean, but they were flicking smart because they're actually called cafe au lait spots. So I legit was a coffee stain face.
Wow.
Yeah, but so I spent years of my life trying to hide those with suntans, and I'm a brunette, but my dad has red hair, so like I burn. And so lots and lots of sun damage. Fast forward, I become a dermatologist, and the focus of my practice is skin cancer and melanoma. And I find a spot on my arm that I ultimately have to diagnose as early melanoma. And that really was the wake up call for me, that how I was living, the story I was telling myself about myself, my unworthiness, my not enoughness, my not attractiveness, all the things led me to live a lifestyle that just was not supporting me. Overworking, over exercising, all the things. And my health really started to fall apart at that time. First, it was the skin cancer. Then it was hormonal issues leading to a hysterectomy and so many other things. And I realized again that the underpinning, the common theme for all of it was discomfort in my skin. And it was all the stressors in my life that were driving it. So it led me down a path of integrative medicine, functional medicine, mind body medicine. And I thought, if I am a physician who's been in medicine for over 20 years and I didn't know how to connect the dots for myself, how is the average woman supposed to do that for themselves? And so I really shifted how I approach skin health, as it's all about relationship, our relationship to ourselves, relationship to all our stressors, and really focusing on the mental and emotional aspect of our embodied experience of living in our skin, because everything that you think, feel, and do affects your skin, either what shows up on your skin or how you show up in it. So it's really informed how I approach everything skin health. It's a
I
very
think that's very, very powerful. Yeah, because we look at our skin and we think that there are things that are, and they may come into play, but genetics, what we eat, the things that we're doing to ourselves, we think of them more as surface issues that we're dealing with our skin. We're always trying to find the right cleansers and we're always trying to find the right food. So when you're working with people that are going through experiences and you know that you're helping them connect the dots, what are some of those unexpected things that we don't really think about that show up on our skin kind of more from the inside out?
Yeah, I think that's such an important question. You know, our brain and our skin are derived from the same layer of embryologic tissue. So your mind and your skin are communicating all the time. That's why, you know, expressions like, oh, they got under my skin or they make my skin crawl. It is so true in many ways, because every thought we have, every sensation we have, our skin is responding. So when you're nervous, what happens? You might blush, your hands might get sweaty, or your pits might get sweaty, or you break out in hives. Or when you're stressed, have you ever noticed you might get a herpes outbreak on, cold sore, or your acne breaks out? It's because there's activation of your stress response with elevation of your primary stress hormone, cortisol, and cortisol creates a lot of shifts and changes that impact your skin. Cortisol directly stimulates your oil glands, which is why you may break out. Increased sebum production is one of the contributing factors to acne, as is inflammation. Your stress response activates inflammatory pathways. So again, like that's kind of one of the big things that people may not appreciate, that your brain and your skin are communicating with each other all the time, which is really the work that I support people the most, is how to regulate your nervous system. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be calm and zen all the time. It's recognizing, oh, this is what's happening for me. This is what's happening for me. I can acknowledge it. And now what do I need to do to support myself to help better manage that? And that the lens a little further out, just like you said, from the inside out, what impacts that? You mentioned food earlier, how we nourish ourselves. And it's not just what we eat, but the how and the why we're eating. Sleep, things in our environment, our visual environment, our physical environment. So, it really depends on the person, but it's really getting to know, okay, what are the things that are your triggers, right? Getting to know yourself.
Yes.
Everything touches your skin. Everything touches your skin. The air, other people, your clothes, the products you use. So your skin can be your greatest source of information. It can be your greatest ally, your greatest asset for supporting your overall health. But most people think about their skin as something to cover up, to fix, as just a canvas for makeup or a clothes hanger for clothes. But your skin is just so much more than that. It's a living, breathing organ that can be like your best friend.
That is amazing. I am really excited when you talked about the central nervous system, because we know now that when our nervous system is out of whack, and there's so many different coping skills that we have to deal with that, that we have so many different reactions. Our gut, we have the butterflies, our skin, like you said, everything is coming out. All of the reactions that we have. Are there certain things that you share with your clients that are not just, the skincare routine? Obviously, you're going so much deeper, and I mean that word literally and figuratively. Are you giving them coping skills also to deal with some of those things, and not just, obviously typical dermatological help?
Yeah, I would say that's the majority of what I do. I do not have a clinical dermatology practice. The focus of my practice is what we call psychodermatology. It's the mental and emotional aspects that can either contribute to onset of a skin condition or result from having a skin issue. Most people may not appreciate that upwards of 90% of all doctor's visits are for stress-related issues, and skin issues are the number one reason people go to the doctor. So if we are not addressing how to regulate that nervous system and equip people with the skills, tools, and resources to help regulate that stress response, we are missing a huge part of their skincare routine. So to be honest, I really don't talk about products at all. There's maybe 4 products. You can save your pennies. You don't have to spend a shit ton of money at Sephora. There's some great products out there, but you don't need an apothecary worth. What you do need is to understand the things that affect your skin the most, right? And for some people, it's their sleep, right? So looking at lifestyle. So what I do is the program that I have is called Somatic Skin Care, right? It's Soma is your body, and really that embodied experience of living in the skin that you're in. And there's lifestyle factors where we dive deep into all the things, nutrition. I have, I call it our senses: relationships, stress, environment, nourishment, sleep, skincare, all movement, all the things that, can be stressors in our lives, and how to create the best routine for you. And then there is the somatic practices, breathwork, mindfulness, meditation, which really form the crux of what I love teaching, because we teach best what we need to learn the most. And I am not a person who's chill and calm all the time. I am as tightly wound as they come, full transparency. And so I do this work because I need it. And I also want to dispel the myth that you have to be some Zen, like life is beautiful kind of. No, that is not what this is about. I think that's a complete, we're doing people a disservice if we think that everything is supposed to be daisies and rainbows. And glowing skin also doesn't mean your skin is clear.
That's powerful. So what does that mean? Glowing skin does not always mean it's clear.
It's a feeling. It's an embodied experience. That confidence that you feel, knowing that you have trust in that your body is doing exactly what it needs to do in this moment. If you are having a flare of your eczema, or your psoriasis is flaring, or your hair is falling out, your body is sending you a message. It is doing its damnedest to keep you alive, to support you in the best way it knows how, but it might need your support. So glowing skin is an embodied experience of knowing that your body has your back, and you've got your body's back, right? You can trust in your intuitive wisdom to tap into your body's intelligence to serve your higher good, right? And that really, that sense of oh, I've got this, or it's okay that I don't feel okay, right?
Yeah.
That is a very powerful experience, sensation, feeling that helps also regulate that nervous system. And you will feel a sense of spaciousness, a greater sense of calm, and that is reflected in your energetic being and a glow that doesn't necessarily mean your skin has to be 100% clear, right?
That's powerful because it's getting away from that perfection that we feel like we have to have in everything. And like you said, this is one of the greatest things that you said is we don't all have to be all zenned out. It's not reality. So being okay with not being okay. And
Totally.
that's really powerful because I think we get into a space where I'll bring up a specific example just from a client who's struggling with their skin. And there's certain things that I'm sure you can talk to this. She doesn't feel like she uses her voice. She people pleases, is a perfectionist. How would you talk to somebody about certain things like that that might be brewing up inside that end up coming out and showing more on the skin?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where the premise of the skinny dipping method that I talk about comes up. I've got, I don't know if you never use a video, right? But we've got this neon sign behind me that says, "Let's go skinny dipping." And most people think that like when I was practicing dermatology, I had to get people physically naked in order to teach them what to look for on their skin in order to save their lives. Skin cancer is the most prevalent cancer in the United States and Canada. And so you need to know what to look for. So you party in your birthday suit on the date of your birthday every single month, and you look for what I call uninvited guests, anything that's growing, changing, itching, bleeding. But really, it's a metaphor for being willing to look at what's on the surface and exfoliate, shed the layers that are no longer serving you, including not using your voice, people pleasing, not feeling your enoughness. And so, for an individual like that, a lot of times that is where doing somatic practices to connect to the body, a sense of ground, to feel the resonance of your own voice in your body. What does that feel like? And get a little bit more comfortable with that. So then it becomes easier to put that out into the world, right? We don't need to go so much into the story in our head, right? We live in our heads, we get caught up in there. But if we drop down into our body and allow our body to tell the story for us, a lot of times, a lot of those layers get shed and released. And, it shifts a significant amount in how you show up in the world.
Wow. So I was actually going to ask you about the emotional exfoliation, and that is that shedding. And I appreciate that you shared that. Can you also share, because you've mentioned this somatic experience, can you share what are some of the ways to have somatic skincare?
Yeah. Um, so many ways. So even just a simple experience of like a practice many people are familiar with, like grounding, right? Just a connection. So I think about skincare as connection and relationship. There's the relationship between our brain, our skin, our body, our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to the world outside of us, and our relation. So it's our connection with our actual skin to the ground, like just having your feet planted firmly on the ground, feeling your bottom in the chair, maybe your back supported by the surface behind you, and just allowing yourself to receive that support and knowing that that support that you're sitting on is receiving you, right? So it's about just establishing more of a relationship and connection, and the sensations that you may feel when you're doing that. It's very simple. It seems like nothing, but it's incredible to have that more body awareness. You get to know yourself. Most of the time we disconnect. We're so disconnected. We live in our head and we forget that we have this body. And then we tune out to all those signals. Like you had mentioned butterflies in your stomach, right? Many people might think that that's a bad thing, or they don't understand it, or they want it to go away. But again, that's in offering an invitation from your body that something is happening, that acknowledging it, you don't have to dwell on it, but acknowledging that it's there and seeing if there's anything it wants you to know, if it needs your support, anything like that. Like it's just a way to connect to yourself much deeper. Because when you connect to yourself, it really opens the portal to be able to connect to others, right? We are wired for connection. We need connection for survival, but we have this manual for other people that they're supposed to act in a certain way. And when they don't, we're disappointed. But a lot of that disappointment comes because we haven't created a connection with ourselves first.
That's powerful. And I appreciate you saying that any of these things that show up for us, it is an invitation. It's information for us to explore what are the things that we need to work on and what are the things that we can do to get more connected to ourselves. That was really powerful. I appreciate that. And the connections with people, that was this is interesting because when we first start talking about skin, we're on the surface and we just keep going layer by layer in, and accepting people for who they are is really challenging unless you accept yourself for who you are. So that's powerful. I appreciate that. And speaking of that, women, especially a lot of my listeners are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, struggle to feel comfortable in their own skin, especially through the aging process, because there are things that are happening that, of course, there are a lot of products out there. We are being sold to every minute of the day that the wrinkles, the spots, the aging spots, the changing of the texture of our skin, we are being sold that it's not okay to age. We're not good enough. There's a lot of marketing. And I know even to younger people, if you look at just the products that are out there, that marketing, and maybe this is more of my perception, it's just in our group that we talk about, but it's preying on the fear of not being yourself. And are there any thoughts that you have around that?
Oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts.
I want them all. I want them all.
I am in a specialty that literally, I mean, it can make you feel so shitty about yourself.
Absolutely.
I mean, anti-aging, I think, is the worst term ever because it infers that we should be anti about ourselves. Like, why would I want to be anti about anything about myself? Like, that's terrible. But we absorb that from such a young age, and it becomes, again, this skin story. There's skin stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves that we've created based on our experiences. And then we also have stories that other people are telling about us that we absorb into our being. And anti-aging is one of them. And I think it's really challenging because, yeah, listen, I'm 50. So my hormones have been on the decline and at an accelerated pace because I had a hysterectomy. I've just restarted hormone replenishment therapy because I want to experience more benefits for bone and brain and all of that stuff. And I've got wrinkles and I've got stretch marks and I've got cellulite and, all the things. And I could hate on myself for them, or I could acknowledge that they're there. I don't love all the changes, but these thighs that have the stretch marks and the cellulite have biked me through countries and run ultra marathons and allowed me to chase after these babies, and I can still walk and still do all the things. So and the skin on my face, like I had a recent surgery, for a lesion that was, concerning. So I've got scars and all of that. There's resilience there, right? We can focus maybe on the function and the things that our skin and our body can do for us rather than pit ourselves against the appearance of it, right? I think there's value in taking pride in your appearance and supporting yourself to age healthfully, to enjoy this life that we are, fortunate enough to be living. But the anti stuff is crap. It really is. And it can do a lot of damage. And listen, I've got a teenage daughter, and the body dysmorphia and the, issues and all the things that are starting at such a young age because of all this marketing. Like, we need to change the conversation, right? We all have different bodies. We all come in different shapes and sizes. And um, that's okay. That's okay.
That's a really important conversation to our younger generations, having the conversation of, again, being yourself and knowing that everyone is unique, and we just have a really tough time when there are certain even body types that
Mhm.
are sold to us. There's nothing wrong with them. There's no judgment on them. It's the judgment on having everyone have to fit into the same box. And I think it's the same with skin.
Totally.
I love your conversation with that. So I'm going to ask you, this is something that I know women will want to know, is, with that said, and being ourselves and loving ourselves as we go through this healthful aging process, how do you feel about when women do opt to do the injectables, the fillers, any of the things? And I am not well versed in all the things that are even available. Do you have thoughts or a conversation around that with your clients?
Absolutely. I am all for all the things. I am just going to be very curious about your intention. What is your intention? Listen, I've had Botox, I've had filler. It's been a while. But would I do it again? Of course, of course. And it's more, I have to just check myself. Um, why do I want to do it? Why do you want to do it? Because this shit is expensive, pardon my language, but like, it
Yes.
is expensive. It is not a one and done. There's a maintenance program, all the things. So if you're doing it from a place of, you know, I look good and I want to keep looking good, or I need a little zhuzh because I want the outside to mirror how much I am taking care of myself on the inside. And yeah, I'm going to drop some money on this. Great. Great. Return on your investment, money well spent, because you're doing it from a place of like, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this because I really value the interplay between my outside and my inside, and fabulous. Now, if you're doing it from a place of, well, if I do this and I look, a little bit younger, maybe I'll get the job, maybe I'll find the relationship, maybe I'll be happier, maybe it'll change my life. Like, that's not how this works. And you will never get the return on your investment you're looking for, because doing these, it's like having getting a good blowout. It's amazing. You feel great. You'd be like, Kira, you're full of shit. Like that. I totally disagree with you. Fine, you're entitled to, but the likelihood is like the first couple of days or maybe the week, like you think you look good, and then you're like, wait, my life, you go beneath the surface, and like, there's still the stuff, there's still the lack of communication with your partner, there's still the dissatisfaction at your job, and you're still not using your voice, and you're shrinking yourself to be like, those are the bigger issues. And I'm not saying to use any of that against yourself, but I'm just saying, if that's your intention, be honest with yourself. You probably won't be as pleased with your results because that's not the core issue.
Yes, not the core issue. I appreciate that non-judgmental, loving space that you created for that, because as women, if we do it, we can get criticized. And if we don't do it, we can get criticized. It has to be a really personal choice.
Totally.
And we have to fight a little bit against whatever anybody else is doing and really go from, again, we keep talking about the inside out. What's going on the inside? Is this something that's fun? I love how you said if it gives you a little bit more, a little bit of zip there, because we do, as women, a lot of times we're working, we feel, I'm 56. I don't feel 56. I feel like I'm 45, Yeah, maybe I'd like to have that match a little bit. So I appreciate that. Are there dangers to having those procedures done? I'm curious if there are things that women can kind of look into, research before they even go down that road, if they've done the work inside and asked that intentional question.
Yeah, totally. And I'll also name sometimes, like Botox, there were studies, Botox and depression. And, when we look in the mirror and we're frowning at ourselves and we've got those angry 11s, and it's so much easier to be, that negative voice chatter. And so doing Botox to relax those muscles, so maybe the conversation might be a little more gentle and kind. Sometimes it's an outside in. Like there are always exceptions to the rule, but knowing why you're doing it. The risks, there's risks with everything. Like Botox, if you go to a skilled injector, dermatologist, plastic surgeon, some ENT folks, a lot of the issue is going to these med spas. And so it's asking the qualifications of the person. What is their training? What are the complications that they've had? How often? Because a lot of nurses are doing this. Some, estheticians, like, are they really in their scope of practice? So you just want to inquire about that. But there's always, drooping of the eyelid or diffusion of Botox. Fillers, again, you want someone who really knows facial anatomy. So you're going to ideally your board certified dermatologist or your plastic surgeon, because it's rare, but there could be injection into a blood vessel, and that, could be catastrophic. That happens very, very rarely. Same thing with laser. Some of these med spas, and they're just a technician, and that's how people get burned. And so you just want to check on the qualifications, know who's doing your procedure, ask your friends, get recommendations and referrals. That's probably the best thing. Or if you see someone, you're like, damn, you look great. You look really like refreshed. Like, have you done anything? And hopefully they'd be like, mm-hmm. And I'll tell you exactly who to go to. They do it very au naturel. You know what I mean?
I love that. I'm very honest with my listeners. I've had, but they call it baby Botox for me because I overreact to it. And the reason why I originally went, and I can't do my 11s anymore, and you can't see me on screen, those of you who are on audio, but I'm scrunching my face so Dr. Keira can see them. I originally started not to look younger, but before I became a nutritionist, was a high school math teacher, and I didn't want to keep looking angry at my kids all the time.
I love it.
Are you mad, Miss Hines? Are you mad? No, I'm fine. But I had this look. So that's how I started. But when I went, I'm going to be really honest, just so everyone else knows to, just keep asking if it's not okay and it's not working, because my face just can't take that much. It has to be very, very light. Otherwise, I do get the drooping eyebrows. I used to get a shelf from the 11s, and but then I had to ask the question, and I'm so appreciative that you were pulling this into our conversation. I had to ask myself, what are the reasons why I'm doing it? Am I doing this because I'm worried about what people think of me and what I look like? And I am trying to be the expression of health. However, I could also be doing it because I am insecure being in a business where we're online all the time. And I want to be able to be authentically me. So, how I balance that is I do get it sometimes. I'm just really honest about it. And there's, everybody's going to know when it's wearing off, and it's okay. I'll just be back to it when I feel like it or not. It's like dyeing our hair. It's like our going gray or not going gray. It's so personal, and it's amazing how there's so much judgment in different spaces. And I'm going to throw this out here before one of my last questions for you is, I feel like when you surround yourself with people who have some of the same goals that you want, like following people like you, following people who are doing the things that you really truly in your heart think are right for you, it makes it easier to be in that space for yourself. But if you're following people who are doing all the things and seem to be perfect, it might create something in your own self-worth, deserving, feeling enough or not. So, but I
I,
do, go ahead.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that that's part of the exfoliation process. Part of that exfoliation process, maybe exfoliating some people in your life. When we talk about environment, that's part of the framework that I take people through is like your environment. That includes the people you spend your time with. And to your point about like dyeing your hair, I still dye my hair, and I just had it done, and like my gray's already coming in, and I can acknowledge like I'm just not ready because I don't see myself as old enough to be just fully gray. I feel very youthful. I'm like, so I'm choosing to continue to dye my hair until I'm ready. I'm just not there yet. And I can own that and acknowledge that. And I think all of these things, as you said, such personal choices. And, I'm trying to embody that what other people think of you is none of your business. I
I
didn't
love that. I
I
use that
didn't
expression all the time and I love it.
I didn't ask for your opinion. So you can give if you feel so inclined to give me your unsolicited opinion, that's great. I'm just gonna exfoliate that right up. Like I didn't ask for it, don't need it, don't want it, not letting it absorb in because and that's hard and that's practice. That is not something we innately, especially those of us socialized as women, we're supposed to be kind. We're supposed to be like, just take it all in and not say anything. And like, that's bullshit. Like at this point, I think we're old enough to be like, thank you, but no, thank you. And
Exactly.
you're not allowed into my inner circle here
Yes.
anymore.
And just because people say it, it's like the labels we have when we're younger. It doesn't mean it's true.
Totally. Just because someone says
We
it,
create the truth.
right? And that's the other thing too about how we speak to ourselves. And I know that I, want to be mindful of time and all, but how we talk to ourselves is really important. Like even I feel sad or I'm frustrated, and just a reframe of like there's sadness here, there's frustration, there's disappointment, so that we don't identify that is not who we are. It may be an emotion or feeling that we are having, but it creates a little more spaciousness because we can, those labels, we wind up labeling ourselves and we create a whole nother story about it. But we're not trying to bypass anything. We're not trying to push anything away. We're acknowledging that something might be here, but we don't have to make it mean anything about who we are as a person.
Yes, we don't have to own it and make it part of our identity. We can say it to deal with it. That's
Mm-hmm.
really good. So, do you ever do anything like gua sha or any physical? I mean, you talked about the somatic experience. How do you feel about some of those things with the face? And also, I've seen online, we're going on the outside a little bit right now, switching gears, face yoga and things like that. How do you feel about those practices?
Yeah, so I do gua sha. I do like dry brushing and all of those things. I make it my part of my morning ritual as a way to connect with myself. And I used to like, even though I'm a dermatologist and stuff, I would just like quickly wash my face. But now slowing things down with my breath, using it as self massage, a way to connect, a way to observe, see what messages my skin might have for me. Are you a little extra dry? What do you need? A little moisturizer, like those dark circles. Yes, you were binging on Netflix, too many nights, like you need to back it down. So like I incorporate all of these external things as a way to connect with myself. So the gua sha of, taking the tool and gently, massaging the face and the dry brushing to move, things and stimulate and activate the nerve endings to, remind me that I'm alive. So I do incorporate those things. Face yoga, I don't have much experience. People swear by it. And I think if that is something that brings you joy and helps you connect with yourself and have an appreciation for the skin that you're in, I'm all for it.
That's wonderful. So, I'm going to ask you a question I ask every guest. We've talked a lot about nourishing your life, and I talk about nourishing your entire life. You've listed so many wonderful things that we can pinpoint. that have nothing to do with just slapping on some skincare. If you could give 3 tips that would get someone started in this process of nourishing their entire life, whether it's for their skin or anything that you feel really strongly about, even if it's something you've mentioned, what would you send everyone off with?
Yeah, I think adding pleasure into your day, simple pleasures. For me, that's getting out and walking, just looking at funny, like puppy videos or something like that. Adding more pleasure into your day throughout your day. It is an instant stress relief. It's a change in state. It's the thing that really, in terms of skin health, I think it's amazing, right? Because you're going to keep that cortisol, that primary stress hormone that's chomping away at your collagen, you're lasting and aging you faster. It's going to help with that. I think also taking some time when you look in the mirror, like brushing your teeth, washing your face, to really look at your skin, to look at yourself, and see if you can find maybe just one thing to compliment rather than criticize. Is there one thing? And then, of course, this is an actual topical skincare thing, and that is sun protection. Sun protection, sun protection, sun protection, because we're talking about aging. Upwards of 90% of visible signs of aging are from UV exposure. So that's a true topical skincare thing. So an SPF 30 moisturizer, a tinted moisturizer every single day, rain or shine, because 80% of UV rays get through the clouds. So you want to be protecting yourself. The tint, the iron oxides in the tint protect you from blue light. So it's from your devices as well. We're sitting in front of screens all the time. So that's why I recommend a tinted moisturizer.
Those are very valuable tips, finding that pleasure and that joy, literally looking at ourselves and complimenting instead of criticizing. I love that. And this Florida girl needed to hear the tinted moisturizer and sunscreen. Needed to hear that today. Keira, I want everyone to be able to find you, and I think everyone should follow you and also look into what you're doing. So can you tell everyone where they can find you and if you have anything to offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram, Dr. Keira Barr is a place to find me. I have a free quiz. People are always asking, well, what should I, my skincare routine? Well, this is the question. Does your skincare routine need a makeover? You take the quiz in less than 2 minutes, you will get your answers. You will know why you may be struggling with your skin and exactly what to do about it. So that's a great place. And then, I'm going to be launching my Somatic Skincare program, which is a group coaching program to really share all of the things that we talked about, mind, body, skin, and soul, so that people can experience greater comfort in their skin, whether it's clear or not.
Great. I'm also going to have those in the show notes so everyone can make sure that you can click on the link and find Dr. Keira. Keira, you are such a blessing today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone remembers to nourish their entire life and give yourself grace today. I really appreciate you being here. If you resonated with this podcast, it would mean a lot to me if you'd be willing to follow or subscribe to the Emotional Eats podcast. Then you'll never miss an episode. Just go to the Emotional Eats show page on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner and click on it. While you're there, if you'd be willing to give me a 5-star rating and review, I would be so grateful. If you'd like to take a screenshot and share it on Instagram, just tag me at Kim Hines Health. I would love to hear your thoughts and let me know how I can support you. You can always DM me on Instagram, again at Kim Hines Health. And just remember to nourish your life and give yourself grace today.